interested in both of them. One of them is the Chiefs, the other the Dallas Cowboys, whose buses rolled into Oxnard, California last night. After a 7-10 record last season, Dak is back this year, and expectations are high. Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith certainly not shy about what he expects from his team this season.
Super Bowl champions. That's always the expectation. So, yeah.
You think that's a realistic goal?
I think it is a realistic goal because we can win the Super Bowl. Like, why not? Why can't we win? Do you think it's unrealistic?
You think the roster is in place to do that?
I think it is in place to do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What do we think of that? We're throwing him on the middle of the table.
First off, this man was interrogated like somebody who old lady found the code to his DMs on Instagram. Every time he answered a question, dude had another question for him. He is a non-believer.
Clearly.
Sheesh.
I will say this. In 2016 with the Browns, we were 1-15. And the motto going in to next season was why not us? And they went 0-16. So, when you come into a season, you have to have that, unrealistic view of yourself. And I'm not saying it's unrealistic, but to RC's point, this is how this thing goes.
There is a pathway to respectability. I had a long time with Brian Schottenheimer in New York when he was our offense coordinator. He wants to run the ball and use play action. Last year, they were 28th in the league in play action. If they can get some production in the run game, which maybe they can between Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue from Texas, maybe that will allow Dak Prescott to get the ball, George Pickens more, and to CeeDee Lamb. And if they could just do that, enough guys, they should be good on offense.
Where is our Cowboys blue affinity for having a prognostication of positivity? Right? Because here's the thing. This is going to be the second best quarterback wide receiver duo in all of football. Joe Burrow, Chase, and Higgins will be number one. Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb will be number two. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is a top 5 wide receiver based on production. And then you have George Pickens, who is a top 5 wide receiver based on what he left the hospital with. And now you couple those with Dak Prescott, who finished second in MVP voting 2 years ago, and a team that found a way to win 7 games last year with Cooper Rush and a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed. I believe that this team has a chance to compete, but I think Dak Prescott shows us this year why he's the highest paid quarterback in the league. CeeDee Lamb shows that he's one of those ones, and George Pickens has something to prove. And everything that you're hearing out of that building is he's focused on being a better man away from the field. He's focused on maturing, but we know what he can do when you give him the ball in 50-50 opportunities.
Is it oversimplifying it? I said it in the tease. We will tell you what their entire season rests on one thing. And to me, RC just touched on it. Is George Pickens going to be the player that he was drafted with the potential to be? Because if he is, then I agree with RC. There may not be any team outside of Cincinnati that has a better 1-2 punch at wide receiver, and Dak Prescott could have an enormous year, and that could actually transform this team, which by their standards are flying pretty low under the radar. That could transform them into a legitimate contender.
George Pickens could change the trajectory of this franchise and organization. You have Dak Prescott, who's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history. You have Micah Parsons, who will be the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history. And for George Pickens, to your point about living up to his expectation, RC's just said it. When he left the hospital, he has number 1 receiver capabilities. Even when you watched him in Pittsburgh, it wasn't about ability. It was about consistency. It was about leadership. It was about, hey, you are the number 1 guy. You're getting more attention. It's going to take you being a professional so we can build upon that. In Dallas, he doesn't have to do that because CeeDee Lamb is that. So you have 2 number 1s down the field, which a defense has to take into account. And when they do that, it opens up everything for the Williams, for the Sanders, for the Dak.
And we can't forget Jay Ferguson.
Releases pressure. And Ferguson in the middle, absolutely.
There's another X factor here, which is when you acquire a receiver in the last year of his deal, which we did at the Jets, Antonio Holmes, Brandon Edwards, they're on their best behavior. They're going to be productive. It's the old carrot. So whatever George Pickens has, we're going to get the best of it. But again, to me, it all starts with 3 number 1s in the offensive line and their ability to run the ball, and that'll give them much more opportunities to those 2 guys.
And the other thing is, too, you got to look at that wide receiver room. When you have someone like CeeDee Lamb, who is still a young football player, but who is ultimately talented, now there's a synergy between George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They'll think the same, but there's also going to be a level of respect that if CeeDee Lamb is having a day, I understand, I respect his talent, I respect the things he's accomplished. It's okay for the ball to go to him if he has the one-on-one matchup. And it's going to be the same for George Pickens coming from CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's so much that's so important to how they get along in that room, but also to George Pickens feeling like he's being seen throughout his tenure in Dallas.
Having been around the block a little bit, here's what I will say about the Cowboys. We tend to overstate how good they are when they're good. And now I think we have a tendency to overstate how bad they are when they're not good. This team wasn't terrible last year. They didn't go 3-14. RC just said it. In a division in which two of the teams wound up in the NFC Championship game, they won 7 games without their quarterback. And I might say, I think it was you who said it before I went on vacation. No team in the NFL added a better quarterback in this offseason than the Cowboys did. They added Dak Prescott. This is absolutely a playoff team at minimum.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if these players play to their potential, if Micah Parsons plays when he's playing in his biggest moments, having the effect and impact even in the biggest games, and Dak Prescott is 2023 Prescott because he has George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, it right sizes the run game. There's no reason why they can't make a run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think we get into this thing where we are so down on the Dallas Cowboys right now because every time we're up on them, they let us down.
Right.
And I think we have to look at this team and some of the changes they've made. And I also think getting a guy like a Matt Eberflus is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Someone who understands defense, someone who understands how to make it tough and physical in the front line, which is something that they have been lacking. You add Kenneth Murray to the linebacking core. Now Michael Parsons doesn't have to get off of the ball. You can utilize him in the best way possible. I think this team is going to be more competitive than we've given them credit for throughout this offseason.
Absolutely. We'll have more on that as we go. Much more football, but let's do some this week. And let's start them with some opening statements. RC, I will begin with you
while the team prepares for their opening practices on the West Coast alongside Nicole Hutchison. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We will soon join the team in Oxnard, and I can't wait to get back out there. It's good to hear the music again, and it's an opportunity to see exactly what Brian Schottenheimer has in store for his first season as head coach. So we'll start there, Nicole. What is the first camp going to look like for Schotty?
I made a little acronym for this, FNC. You're going to get a fun vibe, right? The F is for fun, of course. And then you get the N, right? It's nasty work. You're going to have gritty competition, so much fun one-on-one competition that you obviously hadn't seen in the past. And, of course, for the C, you're going to get crisp, obviously polished edge. I got a chance to hear from a couple of the guys, and they said that these new coaches have really made an emphasis on polished, detail-oriented in their practices. So that's what I was expecting to see out of Brian Schottenheimer.
And there's a lot of energy around Schottenheimer, what he's brought to even OTA practices and different things along the way. Position battles are going to be high octane from the beginning. You're going to see some of these guys, whether they're returners or not, be put in intense situations just like we saw through the offseason.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go with that defensive end position because, of course, you got Micah Parsons, well, potentially when he gets his deal done, but then you don't really know who's the other guy on the opposite side of Micah Parsons. Of course, you expect it to be a guy like Sam Williams, but there's a rookie who has started to create a name for himself so far through this offseason in OTAs, like Donovan Ezaraku. And yes, of course, he does not have his deal signed just yet either, but he's been a guy that Matt Eberflus has been really high on since post-draft. He's explosive. He has an explosive first step. He's got quick hands. He's got great footwork as well. But this is someone who, when you ask Brian Schottenheimer about this guy, Donovan Ezaraku, he said really 8 times in referencing him. He's doing really great, and is excited, especially about his work ethic. I got a chance to also kind of follow him on Instagram. He's been working with a pass rushing guru, I'd like to say, in Brandon Jordan, and he's been getting some extra work in as well. So I like his work ethic as well.
I think you left a couple reelies out of there because Brian Schottenheimer's really excited about what he brings to the defense. The offense on the other side needs an uptick. Of course, they were middle of the pack in terms of total yardage. They were not there rushing wise, 27th in the NFL in terms of their rushing game. Is that where the Cowboys can improve the most on offense?
Absolutely. From 2023, their numbers there, obviously total yards, they were 5th in the NFL, passing yards 3rd, rushing yards 14th in the NFL, which is obviously a significant improvement from 2024. And in points per game, they were number 1. But it starts with the run game. We've talked about it all the time this offseason, is the fact that that's something Brian Schottenheimer is really trying to make an emphasis in. But you got to establish who your running back one is in training camp or potentially even the preseason. Don't wait until week 8 like you did with Rico Dowdle and you're finally starting to give him the carries that he needs to get going. But you also have to finally start using your weapons, right? Dak Prescott, you don't have any more excuses. You got CeeDee Lamb, and you also got George Pickens. And so that's something that I'm looking for as well. He's talked about the fact that he wants to be a little bit more not stagnant in his offense, add some pre-snap motion, also add some play action pass, add some razzle dazzle there. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But yes, the rushing game, obviously with those new running backs as well, you can definitely improve in the rushing.
Well, let's talk about George Pickens a little bit here. You mentioned him as a weapon. The Cowboys went and got themselves a weapon for Dak Prescott. How much can he help take this offense to an entirely new level pairing with CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to him at Media Day, and I asked him, what are you bringing to this team? He said, I'm bringing some more swag. So we love to hear that, but you're also adding a guy who can stretch a defense. CeeDee Lamb has been the guy who can do that, but he's also someone that you can kind of pair with Dak Prescott. You need another weapon for Dak because this passing game has not been the best the past year. So I think he can add a little, obviously taking some stretch off the defense like I mentioned, but that gives the pressure takes the pressure off of Jalen Tolbert, a guy who was added some pressure on him last year. So I'm looking forward to George Pickens kind of easing that off of Jalen Tolbert.
Can't wait to see that combo on the field. It's going to be training camp magic in Oxnard. Rookie first-round pick Tyler Booker had some fun throughout the offseason. Oh, my goodness. He was in a heated battle out of the shuttle drill at his own offensive line football camp. And the quote from Tyler afterwards said, "No one beats Tyler Booker at Tyler Booker's football camp," as he shoves a player to the side. I hope he shoves a couple players to the side throughout the NFL season, too.
Absolutely, and that's the type of energy I need from this rookie offensive lineman. And, hearing him tell me earlier this year, after he got drafted this year, he said that I don't care who's lined up against me. So the little kids are included as well. They're going to get the work as well.
No doubt. And Tyler Booker expected to be a starter at the right guard position. This is a young offensive line for the most part. Of course, you've got Terrence Steele, who now all of a sudden becomes the veteran of the group. No more Zach Martin. Of course, Tyron Smith has been gone for a couple years now, and Tyler Guyton expected to return and take that left tackle starting job as well as his second year comes to fruition. What's the potential for this offensive line on the Dallas side?
I think there's a high ceiling, as we all like to say, for this offensive line as long as they stay healthy. That's been one of the biggest issues with them the past couple of years. And just that leads to obviously inconsistencies with the rotation, right? But as long as you have Tyler Booker, who comes in and is his form from college, right? He's able to create movement in the run game. Technique is crisp as well and displays that power. You got Tyler Guyton, who's obviously said this offseason that he's improved, right? He's eating better. He's taking care of his body a lot better. His footwork seems to be better. He showed me in my Media Day interview with him. So as long as those guys come in and take those jumps that they need to take, Tyler Smith is going to be who Tyler Smith is as well. So I think this offensive line has a really high ceiling.
Could take it to a whole new level. This segment brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas. On Tuesday, we'll have the opening press conference. On Monday, Cowboys Training Camp getting off to a quick start. Opening ceremonies on Saturday. The first padded practice will actually be broadcast live from Oxnard on TXA 21 and DallasCowboys.com, the Cowboys Now app. Rams coming to town again as they make the short trip from LA to Oxnard, and then they'll, of course, return the favor by going to SoFi Stadium on the first preseason game of the year. That's going to do it for us here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by